Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make Tom Selleck's Mustache, which is a great cocktail designed here in Austin. And so the idea of this cocktail is that a few bartenders were just imagining what would Tom Selleck's mustache taste like, and they figured he probably enjoys a Manhattan, maybe a cigar and some coffee. So they tried to mix those flavors into this cocktail, and that's what we're going to do here. This is a really great Movember cocktail, especially for the Mo sister or the Mo buddy who's wondering what it would be like to have a mustache, and maybe even a Mo bro who has a mustache but has slightly different lifestyle choices to Tom Selleck, so they're not used to having those flavors and they just want to see what it would be like to be Tom Selleck for a day. So let's go. The ingredients we've got here, it's similar to a straight Manhattan, so we're going to use rye whiskey. We've got this coffee infused sweet vermouth, Angostura bitters, and wood chips to make the smoke. Now, in case you're wondering what this coffee infused sweet vermouth is, well, I started preparing this a couple of days ago, and let me just try and remember what that was like. Now I'm going to show you how to make this coffee infused vermouth. So the ingredients for this, we've got vermouth, coffee beans, a grinder, and a receptacle. And let me just go over these choice of ingredients that we put together. This Cocchi di Torino, very nice Italian sweet vermouth. It has a really good, rich and vibrant notes of cocoa, citrus, rhubarb, and a balanced bitter undertone. So it's really good on its own, but it's going to be even better once you've infused it with coffee. Here we've got this coffee from Pete's Coffee. Now, the choice of coffee is very important in this drink. The dark roast that we've got here has a certain richness of flavor, which is going to blend really well with the other ingredients in this cocktail. But we have to bear in mind that we're mixing this coffee with 40% alcohol, and we're really not going to be able to taste the nuance of the coffee at all. But the important thing is the aspiration and the intent. And I chose this blend, which is Major Dickinson's blend, because it's an incomparable world blend, rich, complex, and full-bodied, and that's exactly what we're going for with this cocktail. And perhaps more importantly, Major Dickinson sounds like the kind of guy who would have had a fine mustache. All right, so before we make any ingredient, we need to have just a feeling of what we're aiming for. So just to introduce myself to the flavor, I'm gonna start by just taking out one coffee bean. I'm just gonna pour myself a little sip of the vermouth into here. And I'll just eat the coffee bean. And sip the vermouth. Lovely, and I can already tell that these flavors are going to complement each other really nicely. All right, so the next step is going to be to grind up the coffee beans. The amount of coffee that I'm going to need is just roughly one shot here, so I just pour it into the shot glass to measure it out. All right. Now the problem with the coffee grinder is that we're looking for a very coarse blend with this coffee. The coarseness of the grind is, first of all, it complements the idea that we're trying to make a coarse drink here. This is a drink for a man with a mustache, but also the strength of the alcohol doesn't go so well with a fine blend. And the electric grinder is actually going to grind it a little too fine. So what we're going to do is just pour the beans into a little sandwich bag here, just to keep them contained. Just seal this up. Right down here. And then making sure to use the heavy end of the grinder, we're just going to smash up the beans. All right, and we've got this nice, fairly coarse blend of bean powder. What the grind to one side. We won't need that anymore. Of course, any blunt object would do for that step, but coffee blenders are the kind of thing that people would typically have in their kitchens. And then we'll take the beans in the sandwich bag and just pour them into our receptacle. Now, it's very important that the receptacle can be sealed, but aside from that, anything will do really. And I just chose this jar which has a nice fruity pattern on the front of it. All right, so our coffee beans are ready, and then I'm gonna pour the vermouth in. So for this measure of coffee beans, I'm gonna go with about 150 mils of vermouth, but I don't think the ratio is really too important. And I'll just pour this in here. All right. Put the top back on there. And then finally seal the receptacle very carefully. It's very important that it's well sealed for this step, because what we're actually going to do is just give it a really good shake. All right, and then we can see the coffee beans have sort of floated to the top there, and then they'll just gradually sink down and infuse the vermouth with that coffee flavor. And then we're just going to let this sit for ideally 2 days, and then we'll just shake it up again, once every 12 hours or so. And I'll see you in 2 days to make the rest of this cocktail. Smells of coffee. Let's give it a little sip. Tastes like coffee, cocoa, absolutely perfect. This is going to be brilliant. All right, next up, we're going to start with the smoking. Now, if this was Nick Offerman's mustache, then we'd actually go out to the woods with an axe and cut ourselves some wood chips. But Tom Selleck's the kind of guy who does, mortgage commercials, so he probably shops at Amazon, which is what I did. I've got this little bag of ready-cut oak smoking chips. So I'm just going to pour out a handful of these onto a little plate here, just enough to make a decent amount of smoke right there. I'll put that to one side. Got my flamethrower here, so this is going to produce a nice hot flame, get us some good, clean, tasty smoke off of this. So let's do it. Oh yeah, look at it going. A little bit more, get them all burning nice and good. There you go, that is a fire. So we're just gonna throw this jar on there to catch the smoke that's gonna come up of there. All right, looking good. While we're waiting for that smoke to come up, we'll mix the main ingredients together. So we're gonna serve this in a glass like that. It's gonna be 2 shots of the rye whiskey. One. Two. And 1 shot of the coffee vermouth. All right, and it goes. Very nice. And we'll just finish it off with 2 dashes of the bitters. All right, we've got a nice smoky jar here. Got the lid for the jar, so yeah, that's plenty of time to infuse that jar with smoke. So I just make sure I catch it there. All right, turn it upside down. I'm gonna throw the drink now into the smoky glass. All right, screw that lid on nice and tight and give it a good shake there, and that's gonna help the smoke infuse all the way through that nice drink we've got. All right, take my glass back. Ice cube. All right, there's plenty of time to infuse the smoke. And then I'm just gonna pour it right back there into the glass, and look at the smoke come out there. And there it is, Tom Selleck's mustache. I recommend serving it with wood chips on the side just to keep the taste of the smoke in the drinker's nose while they're enjoying it. Cheers. Spectacular.